Adult Solutions. Add-on desired.
Hello my dear students, welcome to Adult Solutions. You are with your Nabi sir and we are here studying social science, specifically for your class 7th, for Cbse and NCERT textbook. Yes, I have that experience to make you understand the boring portion of the history in an amazing style. I will let you know, just I need one thing, your concentration while you study here. That is what in your display you will find the content. Okay, keep the textbook with you if it is possible. Keep the textbook with you if it is possible. I'll ask you to highlight the points. I will mention the important point that is very important for your competitive examinations, that is important for your examination point of view while you are going to give your examination in coming months. Okay, so specifically we are going to begin with that our past second. Our past first portion we have already done in the previous class 6th. Okay, so class 2nd we are going to start with the our past second, that is history we are going to cover, and then after all the social science classes. Yes, so chapter number 1, my dear friends, tracing changing through 1,000 years. Tracing changing through 1,000 years. See, my dear students, first of all, I'll let you know that before we start a tracing changes through 1,000 years, first and most important, I wish to let you know, I wish to let you understand that is whenever you get any topic, first do a postmortem. Feel like that you are a doctor and this is your patient. Keep going on with that information, keep finding what is there in that meaning. Beyond the line, between the line we call that. Okay, so tracing, we know the meaning, searching. Changes, we know the meaning, means development, imperfection to the perfections, something incompletion to the completion, like that. Through 1,000 years, means we are going to study 1,000 year. 1,000 year we are going to study over here. Okay, so why do we need that? The first and most important question that comes to our mind or comes into our mind, that why do we need to study the 1,000 year? We are in 21st century, that is 2021, and is specifically third decade of the 21st century. Third decade means we are in 21, 22, like that, 2021, 22, yeah, like that. So we are in third decades of the 21st century. Why do we need that 1,000 years before what was happening and like that? No, my dear friends. It is sincerely and genuinely it is important to understand that what was the culture at that time, how much we have improved now. What was the struggle that people did and made in order to change the society, in order to reform the society from the imperfection to the perfection. That now we are seeing the development. Was this the same as 100 years ago? We are not talking about 1,000 years ago. I'm just telling you, was this possible for 100 years ago, 1 century before? Ask your grandparents, your grandmother, grandfather, and if it is like, even if still they are your great-grandfather, ask them, what was the condition at that time? Try to find out the data. Sometimes instead of just mingling or engaging with cell phone, try to find out some spending time with your parents, with your grandparents. Ask them, collect the information. How were they going from one place to another place? What was the means of transport? What were the means of transport? Now you have metro. We are in metropolitan city. Okay, even if you are in village and then too you are watching this video, you can go to the town and connect with the metro. Okay, we have Ola, Uber, bike, scooter, auto rickshaw, taxi, cab, so many things. Was this possible 100 century before, or just 1 century before, 100 years before, or just 50, 60 years before? So this is what we are going to understand, tracing changes through 1,000 years. That is what your chapter all about. So map number 1, continuously we are going to study map number 1 and map number 2. This is what the map number 1 we have. I hope you won't understand anything. I hope that you won't understand anything from this, but I'll make you understand. Map number 1, my dear friend, a section of the world map drawn by the geographer Al-Idrisi, one of the very famous geographer at that time, when people were not getting education, when people were just indulging with their own stuffs, that you have stolen this thing, you have stolen this thing, that Daku will come, that like villains will come, and this and that. You have watched the Sholay movie, yeah, and many another old movies, that the criminals were coming, that looters were coming, and robbers were coming and robbing. Like that was the situation at that time. Ali Idrisi was very minded, or exactly that's what now we are studying in our textbook and NCERT CBSE syllabus. Okay, so Al Idrisi in the 12th century. 12th century, it means, my dear students, we are talking about 1101 to 1199. 12th century we are talking about now. So 12th century means 1101 to 1199, and then when it is 1200 till 1200, and then 1200 not 1, and then 1299, it is 13th century. So we are talking about that the Al Idrisi who made this in the 12th century, showing the Indian subcontinent from land to sea. From land to sea, he had divided the portion, actually the land and the water canal over here, the sea over here. Now we have chapter number, map number 2. We have map number 2, and that is what we have, political map. Actually the political map, we can find the boundaries over here, that Bangladesh is also the part of us, Myanmar is also the part of us, Nepal is also the part of us, Pakistan obviously, that is just one day before it got independence. We got independence on 15th August 1947, and Pakistan got independence on 14th August 1947, so just one day before. And then Sri Lanka, then Bangladesh, Bhutan, all they were are India, great Indian. We are talking about the 12th century. But because of these discussions, because of the political stunts, because of this religion, because of this caste, because of this language, because of this belief, because of this linguistic status, because of this educational status, because of this gender-based status, we had divided our subcontinent into small countries. Okay, that is what. So map number 2, the subcontinent from the early 18th century. Subcontinent means even now our India is known as subcontinent. Continent, we understand that. North America, South America, Africa, Antarctica, Atlantic, okay, and that Europe, Australia, Asia, the great one is Asia, that Russia has a great geographical area in Asia. Okay, and then within South Asia, South Asia, we have India and all Indians neighbor. That's what we understand. We have already studied it in previous classes. Okay, so that is because our India is a larger one. After that, Russia, all the countries you see, Sri Lanka you see, that is smaller than our one of the state. Bangladesh you see, Nepal you see, Pakistan even. The Pakistan total population of Muslim population is lesser than the Indian Muslim population. That is what the beauty of our India. Okay, yeah. So the 12th century, we are talking about that time, early 18th century, Atlas Novel of Gulewama de Ellis. That is what they created. Now take a look at map 1 and map 2. That's what we have seen. Map 1 was made in 1154. That's what we are talking about. 12th century, or you can call as half of the 12th century, or you can also understand as the 6th decade of the 12th century. See, whenever you don't understand the date, whenever you don't remember the date, whenever you find it difficult to remembering the date, just post-mortem the things. I always tell you, and I will always remind you the things, that always do the post-mortem. If it is the date 1154, and suppose if you are finding it difficult to remember, maybe now it is possible that Nabi sir is speaking, telling, yeah, 1154, done. Maybe after 2 days, 3 days, 5 days, 1 month, 2 months, you may forget. Divide that into some portion. 1154 means, obviously we are talking about 12th century. Okay, you may forget that. Half of the 12th century, Okay, again, you are not specific more than. Okay, third decade. Decade means 10 years, that's what we understand. Third decade of the 12th century. More. Fourth years of the third decade of the 12th century. If you will break them into that portion, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 times you have revised the date. That is the beauty thing, that you will never forget the date now. That okay, yeah, 5 times you have written. Post-mortem you have done that. With one single word, you have post-mortem. You have broken into some parts. You have made the beautiful, amazing like pieces or slices of one piece of bread. That is what we had 1154. Now, what do you think? You will forget? Obviously not. Okay, so 1154 means the fourth decade of the, or fourth year of the third decade. Fourth decade, or the third decade in the sense that sixth decade actually. Okay, fourth year of the sixth decade. Sixth decade we have here. Sixth decade, 51 to 59, sixth decade. So fourth year of the sixth decade of the 12th century. If you will break into that portion, you may never forget. Okay, now, so first and second map, that's what we have seen. Map 1 was made in 1154 CE by the Arab geographer Al-Idrisi. The section reproduced here a detail of Indian subcontinent, his larger map of the world. His larger map of the world. But map 2? Map 2 was made in the 1720s. Same thing you want to do here. If the date we have 1720, what does that mean? That means we are talking about 18th century first. Understand, because this is the language that even NCERT will start giving you from the 7th class onwards. 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, you will not directly get 1720th, you will get that middle of the 18th century, and like that. Okay, so always understand. Sometimes we just understand that 1720 means 17th century. Sometimes we understand, no. 01 to 099 means 01 to 99, this is first century. Okay, this is first century. 01 to 099, this is first century, that's what we understand, but this is wrong. This is wrong. First century is not 01 to 99. 01 to 99 is not the first century. 99 to that time when we are going up, that is first century. 21st century, what we are studying, 2001 to 2099. That is 21st century. That is what is going on. 21st. So first, okay, like that. This is the portion that if you will divide that into some portion, you will understand. So what we are talking about, 1720s. 1720 means not the 17th century, but 18th century, because it is going to cover the 18th century. Okay, so what we have, 18th century, 1720 means 18th century, and specific if you do that, second decade or the third decade, 20 years. 20 years means 21 to 29. Okay, so the third decade we are talking about, not the second decade, because it is not 720, it is 720s. Okay, so the third decade of the 18th century. Okay, now that's what we could do. 18th, because we don't have a specific year over here. So that is what we could do, the third decade of the 18th century, 1720s, it means we are talking about, synonymous with each other. So the second was in 1720s by French cartographer. The two maps are quite different even though they are of the same area. Same area in the sense, same geographical area, India, subcontinent they're talking about. But one is just as an idea and one is specific with its boundary. In Al-Idrisi's map, the 11th, the 12th century, South India is where we would expect to find North India, and Sri Lanka is the island at the top. Place names are marked in Arabic, and there are some well-known names like Kanauj and Uttar Pradesh, spelled in the map as Kanauj. Map 2. Map 2 was made nearly 1600 years after that map 1. Okay, during which time information about the subcontinent had changed considerably. Obviously, 600 years we are talking about, means 6th century we are talking about. It is not 6 year, we are talking about 6th century. In 6th century, the entire things totally change. The entire things change sometimes. Okay, even in 2, 3, 4 decades, something changes. For example, you have visited your village when you were in 2nd, 3rd or 4th class. You would have some memories. Think about it. Go in that period. Go back to your world. That your mind's or psychological time machine. Go when you were in 4th class, 5th class, like 4th class or like 2nd class, like that. Okay, now you are in 7th class and you are studying for this. Go that time, okay, and find out what were the changes in your village, in your town, in your society, and how much it had changed in just 4 or 5 years. Okay, you will find some changes, certainly. So 1600 years we are talking about after map 1, during which time information about subcontinent had clearly changed or like considerably changed.
Add-on solutions. Add-on desires.